A New York City mayoral candidate was just arrested. I've got those shocking details. Plus, tensions are boiling in the Middle East as Trump makes a bold move that backs Iran into a corner. Then Democrats, they are sounding more alarm bells about their own party. But first, let's start with the breaking news regarding the conflict quickly escalating between Israel and Iran.
The Middle East is on high alert this hour as missiles fall across Israel and Iran for a fifth straight day. A short time ago, Iranian state media announced the launch of a new wave of attacks. Air raid sirens sounding again today in Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel. Iran claims that it struck an Israeli military intelligence center in Tel Aviv.
So President Trump, he's not staying quiet about this. Just this morning, he posted on Truth Social, quote, "We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. Iran had good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived, and manufactured stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA." Notice the word "we" in there, right? Possibly hinting at coordination with Israel. Now, as for having total control of Iranian skies, here's exactly what that means.
The Israeli fighter jets have been able to do what they want in Iranian airspace. They've been busy over western Iran today. Israel says that they took out dozens of surface-to-surface missiles. Those are the kind of things that Iran has been firing here in the direction of Tel Aviv and greater Israel. They also claim that they have taken out surface-to-air missiles and radar installations. The Israelis, in line with what President Trump is saying, have said that they have degraded the Iranian air defenses to such an extent that they have air superiority, meaning they can do whatever they want in Iranian airspace. And Israel's defense minister says more significant targets in Iran will be struck today.
Then came this second scorcher from Trump that says, quote, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader is hiding. He's an easy target, but is safe there. We're not going to take him out, at least for now. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin." Now, White House insiders, they are confirming what many suspected, that Trump's patience with Iran is running out. And based on comments from his G7 flight home, diplomacy may soon be off the table.
Do you think if the U.S. got involved militarily, it would actually wipe out Iran's nuclear program?
I hope their program's going to be wiped out long before then. But they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They should have done the deal. I told them, do the deal. So I don't know. I'm not too much in the mood to negotiate.
He doesn't look too happy there, and I can tell you he was in the Situation Room today for several hours with his team, although we're still waiting on a readout to see what took place there. As for CNN, they are obsessing over optics. They're criticizing Trump for leaving the G7 early, as if global warfare is just an excuse to dodge tariff negotiations.
I also suspect, these G7 meetings might not be his cup of tea. It's a lot of these meetings, there's a lot of people there who may not be his biggest fans, and in countries that are not his biggest fans.
There's a lot of trade deals not done
and a lot
in
of
that
pomp
room.
and circumstance and picture taking and stuff that he probably would rather be in Washington and looking like a leader and looking important, looking in charge and doing all the things that Donald Trump likes to do.
Looking like a leader? He is leading, while CNN is grasping at straws trying to spin everything into a negative. And while they're busy complaining about trade talks, Israel's defense minister says bigger targets inside Iran will be hit today. Even Democrat Senator John Fetterman gets it.
I think it's a great start with the 30,000-pound bunker busters. And I just keep dropping them until you can actually confirm what exactly happened to them. We have the tools, and Israel and the world has the need to finally take this out, and we can't ever have Iran acquire a nuclear weapon. And now what Israel has already done, it's demonstrated that Iran really lacks any kinds of real military capabilities. And now we absolutely have to finish it out.
And finishing the job is exactly what it's looked like over the past few days. Watch this. Now, one Iranian state-run TV station was actually hit while they were live on air. Watch the anchor flee the studio mid-broadcast. Israel's already wiped out a third of Iran's missile launchers, and now nuclear sites are getting hit so hard, there are radiation warnings to residents nearby. Iran can't keep up this fight. They're desperate for a break, desperate enough where they were actually starting to beg for U.S. diplomacy yesterday.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war.
Now, I will continue to follow the latest developments as this story is rapidly unfolding. Also, I've got the wild arrest video coming up of Brad Lander. He's a candidate in the New York City mayoral race. But first, before we get to that, can you believe it was 10 years ago this week when Trump came down that golden escalator and set off what's now become a decade-long liberal meltdown? Here's a little refresher of how it started.
Unconventional? Will people who love him love it? Yeah, but will it get him anywhere close to becoming the nominee or the president of the United States? I think not.
Can we stipulate for the purposes of this conversation that Donald Trump will never be president of the United States?
How do you even have a straight face right now? There are no words to describe what just happened.
Ed Rendell, do you have any doubt that this is anything more than a carnival show?
It's like I can't tell if this is politics or if this is just PR from a celebrity.
The only thing that has changed since then is a majority of the American people are no longer buying the manufactured hysteria. However, there are some people we just can't help. And here's a small sample of those who attended this past weekend's protests.
He's using the military as his show ponies. He calls them losers and suckers. I intend to get arrested.
Really? You intend to get arrested? Why so?
Why? Because if he's coming at anyone, let him come at me.
And what are you going to do to get arrested?
Nothing. I'm doing what I do. I'm protesting as an American citizen. If I get arrested, that gives me the biggest megaphone in the world.
So that's a part of the plan then.
Yes.
These folks still believe Trump called the military suckers and losers, a claim that every single person that was present at the time says never happened. And then remember when they were giddy for Trump's mugshot? Now they're trying to copy his strategy and get arrested for attention. Although I can tell you right now, it will not land in the same way. Here's another example of your brain on MSNBC.
I'm 74 years old. I worry about everything. And I just am so scared and upset. And I don't understand why people voted for this person.
There's no reason for all of this. I mean, it's unlawful. We can't have a president who's a felon, honestly.
Right. So a felony over bookkeeping is disqualifying, but 4 years of a president who couldn't find his way out of a closet? Totally fine. Speaking of things that don't make sense, watch the leaders of LA demand the federal government pay for the damage that was caused by their supporters, the ones they continue to coddle and never want to hold accountable for their actions.
I am demanding full accountability and reimbursement for the local costs incurred, including injuries to local officers and damages caused by the chaos unleashed when the Trump administration recklessly deployed the military and ICE agents into our communities. They are the ones who created this unrest, and they are the ones that need to foot the bill.
Unreal. The left defends the criminals, they blame the cops, and now want taxpayer money to foot the bill for the chaos they encouraged, all while pointing a finger at the president who survived 2 attempts on his life.
I feel like Trump has really popped the lid off the rhetoric and the sense of hate and violence and promoted this type of an environment. It's profoundly disturbing for all of us.
I mean, how many things can you blame on one person? It's like laughable at this point. And if I ever got invited on CNN, which probably will never happen, I would keep it very simple and just say, roll the tape.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take you behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time
An actor assassinated a president.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Somehow they forgot those moments. Meanwhile, as the left trashed the streets this weekend, the rest of the country came together for something bigger. America honored 250 years of courage and service as the U.S. Army celebrated its birthday. It was an event that even John Fetterman stood behind, but now is paying the price.
Well, I think two things can be true. I think absolutely my unapologetically supportive of Israel and a secure border and refuse to vote to shut the government down. I have absolutely. I've taken a hit with from the base. I'm not sure why Democrats would boo a fellow Democrat, but that's their prerogative now. And now with that military parade. Again, there was no goose stepping. Now, like, first of all, let's say stop ever comparing anything to the Nazis and those kinds of things. That's crazy. And now remember, that's our soldiers. That's, this is not an occupying force. This is a 250, anniversary for the Army. Why? I'm not sure why it's outrageous to have a parade to celebrate the Army.
When John Fetterman sounds more grounded than the progressive base, you know something has shifted. And it's not just conservatives that are pushing back against the tired Trump's a dictator trope. Even Democrats are getting fed up. Just listen to Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, people talk about no kings, no kings. He's not a dictator. This is not an authoritarian regime. But that's why he's trying to make it like, well, really? That's why the state's suing him. That's why he's losing some of these cases in court. Last time I checked, you're in a position of power. You try to get your way. Somebody sues you. They fend you off by going through our court system. What is Trump doing differently than what he campaigned on? You may not like it. That's why you win the election, so he's not in a position to do it.
Exactly. The left clings to emotional buzzwords and scare tactics instead of looking for real solutions to problems like the crime wave and border crisis. Conservatives, on the other hand, they're focused on action, policies rooted in law, order, and accountability, not emotional theatrics. Even Fetterman, once again, sounds more in touch with reality than most of his party when it comes to immigration. Here's what he said this morning.
Let's talk about what I support. I absolutely support it, and I was the leading co-sponsor of the Lakin bill. So, absolutely target the criminals, that are here illegally and deport them. I voted for that. I think that's what we should have. No one here should be here illegally if they have a criminal record or engaging in criminal behavior. Actually deport them, and now I think they've also realized don't target actually otherwise hardworking migrants, whether now working in agriculture or working at the hotel industry and there. Two things must be true. Absolutely round up all of the criminals and deport them, but not target otherwise law-following migrants that are a very critical part of our immigration.
Meanwhile, New York City Mayor hopeful Brad Lander was arrested at an immigration court today after blatantly trying to interfere with ICE. Watch this.
Back up, guys. Back up, guys.
This is not legal to take someone without a judicial warrant.
Please don't put him in the elevator and then claim you have the warrant.
You don't have a warrant for him.
Lander locks arms with ICE's target and refuses to let go, all while demanding to see a judicial warrant, something he has no authority to demand. Lander then was allegedly assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. Now, shortly after, Governor Hochul said charges have not been brought against Lander that she's aware of, and that he, quote, walks out today a free man. Homeland Security responded to an old post of Lander's that reads, no one is above the law, with DHS writing, quote, no one is above the law, and if you lay a hand on a law enforcement officer, you will face consequences. New York City Comptroller Brad Lander was arrested for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. I can guarantee you this is not where that story ends. I will continue to follow it, bring you any developments in the upcoming days. In the meantime, up next, I lay out the chilling new details involving the deadly political attack in Minnesota. Wait until you hear about the other two lawmakers that narrowly escaped death, because the shooter actually went to a total of 4 homes. It's wild. Go ahead and click on that video you see now on your screen, and I'll see you over there.